Start game now.
Welcome, Retro fans. I'm your host, the No Swear Gamer, and today we're going to continue our ABCs of Retro series where we go through the alphabet one letter at a time, pick a game that starts with each letter with the letter O. Last time I gave this hint. Take command of the mic. Take command of the mic. That's because in today's game, you actually take a microphone and issue commands in that. And that game is none other than Odama for the Nintendo GameCube. What Nintendo GameCube is that retro? Depends on your definition. Since the GameCube launched, two systems have passed, both the Wii and Wii U, and you're not going to find GameCube games in regular stores. Even GameStop, I believe, have stopped carrying the GameCube games for the most part. So in that case, if you use those parameters, it is kind of retro. Some will agree, some will disagree, but we're going to cover Odama today. And Odama is a bizarre game, and it should be because it comes from a creator called Ute Sato, who was previously known for the Dreamcast game Seaman, where you raise a sea creature with the face of a man and you speak in a microphone, and it is very bizarre and has kind of a cult following. Well, in this game Odama, it is a combination pinball and military simulator, and you are going to have to use the microphone. Now, the game originally came packaged with the microphone and this little clip that you see here that you attach to your Nintendo GameCube controller. And what you do in the game is you hold down the X button if you need to speak into the microphone and issue a command. You can also use the shoulder buttons here for the flippers because it does have a pinball element as well. Looking at the box art, you can see just how crazy a game this is. You have this kind of like almost godlike samurai staring down from the clouds. You have what appears to be a spider with a huge head of a man on it, and some sumo wrestlers carrying a bell. Are you guys ready for this one? I hope so. Let's go ahead and put this into our Wii. We're going to plug our microphone into one of the memory card slots. As you can see here, that's what you plug into. And we're going to find out if Odama is a ball to play or not. Get it? Ball? Odama? Never mind. Okay, let's roll the game footage. In Odama, you are the commander of an army. You are trying to honor the philosophy of Nintendo while protecting the Nintendo Bell, which is being carried by a group of sumo wrestlers from the bottom of your screen all the way to the top. It also has a nice presentation. It has a story to it and a nice narrator who reminds me a little bit of the original Food Network show Iron Chef, the first one that came straight from Japan and had the cool little voiceovers. I really like that show. Anyways, this is a single player game. Originally, they were thinking of letting a second player plug in the bongo controllers from the Donkey Konga games and allowing them to use the drums to rally the troops, but that was discarded early on in development. But your main weapon is the Odama itself. That is the big steel ball, or the pinball if you will, and you have to be careful because not only can it roll over the enemy soldiers, but it can roll over yours as well. And if they do, you will hear them scream out things like, "This is no way to die," or "Don't you know whose side we're on?" Very tongue-in-cheek the humor is. Now, you do have an army at your disposal, and you have reserves, and you can deploy the reserves 15 at a time, and you'll want to be careful with those because if all your army is on the field and some catastrophe happens, you will be left with little to no one. So you do want to keep some guys in your reserves, but the enemy has an army as well. Both of them are trying to push the bell to a certain goal. You're trying to get it to the top of the screen, usually through a gate, and they are trying to get it through the bottom of the screen between your flippers. Now, if they push it through the bottom of your flippers, your game is over. Or if your timer runs down to 0. This game does have a timer to it, so you do have to be wary of that. Now, there are some items you can use. You can launch some rice balls, which can be used either to encourage your army or to use to kind of distract the other army so they'll get out of the way as you push your Nintendo Bell to the top. You also have a cavalry. You don't get this too often, but they're basically guys on horses. They're like super soldiers. They'll just kind of cut through a lot of the opposing army on their way to the top. Now, you use your microphone to issue commands. One thing you won't hear in the review is me issuing the commands, but whenever you see the little microphone icon in the top left portion of your screen, you know I issued a command. And you'll issue them commands like rally, which means gather around a spot you've highlighted using the D-pad, or march left, march right, or press forward, which is the most important command because you'll usually need that one to push through the gate at the end of level. Your guys won't just do it. So be sure if you get this game, you get a microphone with it. You cannot beat this game without it, and the microphone is necessary. And I saw when I was looking online at eBay, lots of copies of the game without the microphone, so make sure you have the microphone if you play this game. There are also power-ups. There's a green orb, which if your ball hits, it'll make the ball turn green, and it will begin to recruit soldiers from the other side. So if it rolls over opposing enemies, they will automatically come to your reserves, and while it's green, it can't hurt your guys. So yay, how cool is that? There's also a heart, which if you roll over that, it will turn the bell white. Now normally if you hit the bell with your Odama, it will make a gong sound, and it will kind of the shock waves will push people out of the way. But if it's white, it'll make the gong sound and turn your ball green if it isn't already. And there's also other items you can pick up, as well as some hourglasses, which will add much needed time to your game. You can use the control stick in the game to tilt the level, which you'll notice a lot. The screen isn't shaking, but I'm tilting it, and you're going to want to tilt it all the time. It won't tilt all the way to like end your game. Like a normal pinball game, if you tilt it too many times, you'll get the dreaded tilt sign, and that's it, you lost your ball. Not in this game. They encourage you to tilt it all the time. Now, there are 11 stages to go through in the game, but it is not easy at all, and a lot of stages have puzzle elements where you're going to have to send your soldiers, at least a group of them, to rally somewhere to pick up items and transport it to another place. There's lots of puzzles in this game, and occasionally they will change the design. For instance, in one level, you will actually get to, it'll continually scroll up, but you'll have to keep pushing your ball up at the same time. Another level, it actually rotates around a mountain, and you use the yellow C stick to rotate to different sides, so you actually have 3 sets of flippers. So different stages can have different sets of flippers. It's very imaginative how they did these stages. And of course, some stages have bosses. The bosses are quite funny. They're usually like these Goliath-sized behemoths compared to all your guys. They make your soldiers look like a group of ants, and they have a very degree of weirdness. Like the first one is just a big samurai, and as your soldiers attack him, what you have to do is hit him with the ball, the Odama. When he's fallen down, then the soldiers have to go down and kind of get at him as he's knocked over. As he loses health, he'll lose pieces of his armor until he's stuck with nothing but the kind of sumo wrestler diaper, if you will. And there's another boss where it's basically a man's head on the body of a spider. I think this is actually supposed to be the developer himself, even though I'm not sure quite what he looks like. But yeah, and also on that stage was very interesting because this game does not hold your hand as you play it. It doesn't explain everything to you, and it takes some figuring out. For instance, in this stage, this was a stage that was on a mountain, and you could scroll from 3 sides and have 3 sets of flippers, as I mentioned earlier. But what you had to do is move these statues to the top. And once you did, what I didn't realize at first was they became like little walls. And what you had to do was get your ball all the way to the top of to the stage, and then hold up the 2 walls as it rapidly went around faster and faster on the top of the stage until eventually it made the house at the top burst open its top, and the spider guy come out, and he immediately starts to vacuum up his people with his mouth, of course, as you would expect. So definitely a crazy game there. Now, the graphics in this game aren't very impressive, to be honest with you. They're okay from a distance, but when they zoom in, everyone looks very polygonal, very blocky. So even though it's funny, it's not a beautiful game. I wouldn't say it's the best on the system by far. If you want a good-looking GameCube game, check out Super Mario Sunshine. This game pales graphically in comparison to that. And the music, there's not really music in the background, there's just sound effects. They get repetitive after a while. They fit the game, but they're, again, nothing to write home about. But what it's all about is the gameplay, and this is definitely a very unique game. It is a pretty family-friendly game. It is rated E10. I would say it's probably like a PG-13 thing, just because of the fact that your ball is constantly rolling over soldiers and in a way killing them. Now, when it rolls over them, they just kind of sit there on the ground and fade away, and I think you might even see like a little ghost kind of lift up from time to time. There is no blood and gore, there is no swearing, but there is that to be aware of. And of course, my daughter, when she saw me playing this game on one stage, thought that the big guy, as he was losing his armor, she was wondering, is he naked, Daddy? No, he's wearing the sumo diaper. Don't worry, dear, he's not naked. I would not review this game if he was. On eBay, it's a really pretty affordable game to get on eBay and Amazon. I saw new copies available for between $15 and $20, which is a really good price, I think, for this game. And they came, shrink wrapped with their controller. You definitely want the controller. the microphone controller in this game, and used copies went for less than that. So it's not that outrageous as far as price is concerned, which is kind of weird because it is kind of an obscure game, and usually those games do command a higher price. And it is only available on the GameCube, and using the microphone, isn't necessary. So it's hard. I can't see this game being emulated officially for like a virtual console anytime soon due to the use of the microphone. So if you want it, you're going to have to go the GameCube route. So would I recommend it? Well, let me tell you, first of all, I did have a blast with this game, but it's not without faults. First of all, it is a very, very tough game. Does not hold your hand at all, as I mentioned earlier. As a matter of fact, on some of the even early stages, I spent over an hour just trying to complete the stage. This game is definitely a task at hand. It kind of has that old school Nintendo hard kind of feel to it back in the 8-bit days when games were rather hard and took a lot of practice to get right. This game does take a lot of practice to get right. And also the microphone commands were very touchy quite often, and I mean quite often. I had to issue commands 2 or 3 times before they registered, and sometimes it thought I was saying something else even though I was trying to speak very clearly. I'm sitting there holding the button down going, rally, 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 and it took like that just for it to understand what I was saying. So I was very clear, but it still had trouble with it. But nonetheless, it was fun, and it has that quality where you lose the level and you're like, okay, one more time, I can do this, I'm going to try this just one more time. It has an almost addictive quality that you do have to be aware of, but it is very fun, especially if you enjoy pinball games and weird games. If you enjoy pinball and weird, I would definitely recommend this to you. So where would I rank this? Well, it's fun. It does have its issues, but I'm going to put this number 7. You want to know why? Because Twinkies were gone, but now they're back again. That's right. I think a game as crazy as this deserves a crazy reason to rank it there. If Twinkies had never left, I would put it probably in the top 3, and if Twinkies were gone away for good, I would put it in the bottom 10. So that's just the reasoning here. Yeah, this game is crazy. In my last episode, episode 32, in my Nights episode, I said Nights was kind of an idea that you would get in your head after you ate expired Lucky Charms. Odama is a kind of crazy idea you get in your head after you ate an expired pinball table, preferably Williams Funhouse, maybe the Twilight Zone pinball table as well. Yeah, this game is absurd, and if some of the things I said make no sense, that's because some of the things in this game make no sense, but it's definitely a unique taste, and I definitely recommend it to GameCube fans, especially if you enjoy the pinball and military aspect of this game and like unusual games. So there you go. Next up is my letter P. I'll give you this hint. Pizza Face. Pizza Face is my hint for the next game, so try that one out. Hey, I am now on the Twitter. That's right. You can follow me on the Twitter by going to twitter.com/TheNoSwearGamer. You can also follow me at Facebook.com/TheNoSwearGamer. I'm also honored to be a member of the Retro Junkies Network. You can find more about them by searching them on iTunes or going to RetroJunkies.com. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this weird, strange review, and I look forward to seeing you next time. So I will catch you all later.